All right, folks, we've got 9 Republicans and 8 Democrats, but who are we hearing about the most on the presidential campaign trail? Jesus. Maybe we all should just say hallelujah. Back again to talk religion and politics are Rabbi Shmuley, Irshad Manji, and this time around we're joined by Michael Eric Dyson, a best-selling author, ordained Baptist minister, and theology professor at Georgetown University. Doc, how you doing?
Doing fine, my brother.
You know, what's blowing me away? We always get Republicans talking about faith. But I swear, Democrats, they must have went to a revival meeting because they're talking about faith at every turn. What's going on?
Well, I think that they understand that you got to play the game as the game is played. And I think the reality is the right wing has hijacked religion, hijacked faith, hijacked the language of expressing connection to God. And I think the left has been always wary of trying to curtail or wary of trying to open up to this so-called force of religion that they can't control. And I think, look, if you look at the best of our religious traditions, the progressives have always had it the right way. Martin Luther King Jr. is often appealed to by the right wing by saying, look, Martin Luther King Jr. tried to make this a Christian nation. No, he didn't. Martin Luther King Jr. used his Christian faith to make this a just nation. He worked with Jews and Muslim folk. He worked with people from Islam. He worked with people from all religious traditions. The central point to him was, how do you translate faith into workable solutions? Justice is what faith sounds like and what love sounds like when it speaks in public. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. understood.
Irshad, you're Muslim. What about that, man? How does it feel? You're sitting there watching Democrats actually discussing faith and having substantive conversations.
Not substantive conversation, all right?
Well,
discussing faith,
to the
but
best
you know
they
what?
can.
No, but here's the point. That's exactly right. I was actually watching the Iowa Democratic debates this past Sunday. It was painful, Roland, all right? Everybody was nervous. Everybody on stage was highly scripted. Even the most radical or you know, maverick of the candidates, Dennis Kucinich, even he declared himself to be the candidate who would bring spiritual values back to the White House. Now, he may be right about that, but the point is that politically speaking, the man is talking in tongues at this point, okay?
Rabbi Shmuley, I got to ask you this question. In 2004, only one of the Democratic presidential candidates had pretty much a faith team. Now all of the candidates have these outreach efforts. How does that make you feel to hear Democrats and Republicans talking the God talk and mixing faith in with their public policy?
Well, I think we need more spirituality in America, so it makes me very happy. The problem, Roland, is that for the past 10 years, religious morality has been defined as anti-abortion and hating gay people. And in a sense, religion has become a mockery as a result. We've got a 50% divorce rate. Any country with a 50% divorce rate has no right to call itself civilized. Who do we blame? The gay people. I mean, we ruined marriage well before any gay people decided to get married. So the problem is that religious morality has to have a broader definition. Religion isn't supposed to only condemn, it's supposed to inspire. We need to hear politicians talking about how their faith makes them into better people with a better vision for America.
But Doc, isn't it also the part of progressives to say, wait a minute, let's stop just having of course, the late Jerry Falwell. Let's stop having James Dobson and others talk about faith issues. You got to have an external force up there talking about issues, talking about poverty, talking about how we treat people every single day. That's also part of the problem.
That's a great point. If you're talking about the gospel, as the rabbi said, usually they're talking about anti-abortion or some right-wing conservative junta that is going to roll like a juggernaut against the progressives who are just going to hell in a handbasket. The problem is, Jesus, people say, what would Jesus do? Well, I'm going to tell you what would Jesus do. First of all, he ain't going to ask what would Jesus do. He would ask what would Jesus say? What would Jesus be? How would Jesus behave? What did he do? He helped the poor. He released those who were captive. He visited those who were in prison. He talked to the widows. In other words, he engaged in a social gospel that translated the ideas of God. He said 2 things. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's how it gets translated.
Irshad?
Yeah, well, even the fact is, however, guys, as you well know, even liberals can treat, you know, religion very superficially.
Right.
And I can tell you, for example, when Bob Dylan, of all people, had his 30th anniversary rock concert in Central Park in New York City, he had Sinead O'Connor on to perform. You might remember she was booed off the stage by a bunch of proud potheads and happy hippies. Why? Because she dared to rip up the photo of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. So here's the question. What are these, you know, hippies and potheads doing defending an establishment religion like Catholicism? Point is, religion isn't going away in this country.
You know what, real quick, when I interviewed Reverend Jerry Falwell for a special we did in April, he asked to answer this question when it comes to having a Sunday school teacher. He said, look, I want somebody who understands national security. So isn't that also one of the points that we must deal with with. That is, look, you can want a person of faith, but where we are now, you want somebody who can lead this nation, deal with this war.
Well, exactly. God is not a Republican. God is not a Democrat. The thing about religion is that it always transcended political partisanship. Right. And it's a shame that we talk so much about how religion is being co-opted. The idea of religion is to be above politics, not to be corrupted by it, to trickle down and to inspire people.
God is above politics. Right. Religion is not.
Got 10 seconds.
Yeah. Martin Luther King Jr. said when he saw that George, the governor of Alabama, George Wallace, thank you, was for school prayer, he knew he had to be against it. He was an ordained Baptist minister, but he knew that politics were deeper than whether you pray right, is whether you act right.
I certainly appreciate it. Rabbi Shmuley, Irshad Manji, Michael Eric Dyson, thank you all very much.